Sorry, I'm just on early, and I'm pause the recording. All right, I'll get started. The people that hop on, I'll just have to keep an eye on my participant list to accept the people that are coming in. So just bear with me as I do that. Good evening. My name is Ryan Hyjick. I'm one of the mentors with Texas United Realty / United Real Estate. I've been doing real estate for 19 years. I got my license when I was 20 years old. I've been doing it full time ever since. Like I said, I'm one of the mentors. Today I'm in charge of the meeting. I thought it was a good idea. I've sold a couple of new homes lately, and I thought it was a good idea to kind of go over the paperwork that is involved when you're selling a new home. If you have a new home that you're having under contract or about to get under contract, congratulations. It is not a very scary process at all. The builder uses their own contracts, so we do not usually use the 1 to 4 family residential contract. The builders have their own. When I say new homes, I'm talking about like a builder like KB Homes or Lennar Homes or David Weekley or something like that. Typically, if it's a smaller home builder, they may not have their own contracts, but even they tend to as well. So what I'm going to hit on some very good points. I've sold lots of new homes in my career, and I feel like there is some good things that y'all can learn from me, kind of the things to navigate. So if you come across a couple of key points in this webinar, go to all the appointments when you sell a new home. Go to all of them. You're like, Ryan, the walkthroughs, man, there's like what, 4 or 5 of them by the time the house is done. I know. And I personally go to all of them. I always go to the walkthroughs, the home inspection, of course, the closing. It's less of a chance for it to fall through if you're there. Something comes up and you're able to nip it in the bud and kind of hold your client's hand. It's a lot of hand holding, but you're there to hold their hand. If you're not there, they're like, what, why do I want to close on this house? My agent doesn't even care. You know what I'm saying? And I get it. We're not paid to specifically go there, but you don't get paid unless it closes. And I'm telling you, the guys, I've been doing this a long time, and I'm saying that I go to all mine, and there's a reason I do it. I want to make sure it goes to the closing table because I don't want to do all for nothing. A lot of my philosophy when I'm doing real estate is I do 100%. I think we all do the 100%, but it's not till you do the 110% that actually gets you paid. And I find that very often when I'm doing real estate, as y'all probably do too. Again, y'all are all muted. At the end, I want you to unmute yourself and ask questions. I love answering questions. So let me dive right in and get straight to the point. When you're doing a new home, yes, the builder has their contracts, but you still have a DA checklist to follow. Okay. If you don't have this one, feel free to email the office, Carol, our broker, or me. My information's in the chat. I'll be glad to email it to you. Fernando's daughter, Shelly, has made the new checklist very easy. There is actually a checklist that says new construction transaction requirements. You just need to follow this, and you're golden. Now, a lot of people think, and some of my mentees even think, well, the builder did the contract, so I'm good. No, 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 no. There's still compliance paperwork that we, in our office, we have to follow. And you also have to do your, who wants to get paid? Me, right? You. So you have to do your DA request, and the broker or the office staff is not going to sign off on it unless you have a completed forms, and it's all right here. Very easy. So let's dive right in. Let's kind of go over these forms. I'm going to downsize the chat. If you want to ask a question, feel free to go into the chat, and also feel free to unmute yourself and ask. I don't care at all if you ask a question. Even while I'm talking, just ask. I'm very easygoing. Okay, so I brought up one of my new homes that I have under contract, and then I brought up the checklist, and we're gonna go over it. So let me hit real quick before I dive into the checklist. I have a very good idea for y'all. times are maybe getting a little slow in residential, or you're wanting to figure out how to turn your 2023 around into double the sales. Carol talks a lot about goals. I personally have goals that I set quarterly, monthly, and weekly goals. But I walked into a brand new home and I was showing it to my client, and a real estate agent popped out of the chair. And I thought, why are you popping out of the chair? You're not the sales counselor. I think it was a Westin home. And I was thinking he had a Remax shirt on. Because at first I thought he was a sales guy. And I quickly learned he was just a real estate agent. And I was thinking, why are you here? Like you're not the Westin home sales guy. And then this Westin home guy sales guy came up to me and I said, quick question, man. Why is the realtor here sitting in the desk? And he goes, well, he sells quite a bit of my houses. And I said, I could see probably why he's sitting in the desk. But how is he doing that? He said, well, he sold some houses and he brings clients to me. So, and he has a good relationship to me. So part of the way I'm paying him back is on the weekends, or when I feel like there's going to be a rush, I allow him to sit in the desk next door or next to me and help me. Because if I get busy, I need someone to talk to the customers. And I said, but wait a minute, if they don't have a realtor, he goes, then he can be their realtor if they want him to. So he literally sits in the model home, and collects clients. I couldn't believe it. And so I thought, you know what? And the guy had such a good relationship with the guy that he told me he sold several of their homes, and he even told me that one time the clients needed to sell their house first before they could buy the new home. So he referred them to the guy because he was right there. So they got a listing out of it. It was like a $500,000 listing. This was in Ellison and Katy. So you're not, yes, we don't get paid per the hour. I get that. And I never have. I've had my license since I was 20, but there's a lot of things you can do that will add up. You're slow, go ask a new home if you can sit in their model home. Well, they'll go on their lunch break. I can assure you they're not going to tell you no. They love to work with realtors, especially if you're helping them out. Okay, so we have our compliance, we have our DA request, which basically is our DA that we have to fill out to show how we get paid. And then you have your DA checklist, which is right here. Information about brokerage services. We all know what that is, or at least we all should. That's the big one that your clients should always sign up front on your first face-to-face meeting. I also have it in my email signature line. That's this guy right here. So in this, the link can be found on HAR and as a email version. And the link, you click the link and it'll take you directly to your IABS. Okay. Make sure it's filled out with the right information, including our broker's information. By the way, if you go to the one on HAR, it'll automatically have your information in there. Let me show y'all what that looks like real quick. I don't want to get off tangent too much, but I promise you this is a pretty good way to, so you're going to log into your HAR. You're going to search at the top here, IABS. That's the link, copy URL. That's the link. You hit copy, you can paste it into your email signature. This is mine because this is my login. So you want it on your email? I think you should. And that's the way to get it. Search it at the top. Before you enter into Matrix, search it at the top. IABS. This is also being recorded. I'm going to put on my YouTube channel. And if you want to have a link to my YouTube channel, I have all my training on there. Just send me a text or a email. It's in the chat, and feel free to text or email me. I don't mind. I will email you my YouTube training channel. I do all my recordings that I do with my mentees. I put them in my YouTube training channel. So, you know what? I'll do something kind of fun for y'all. I'm going to go to my channel. I don't get to name my channel Ryan Hygic yet because I think you have to have so many subscribers before you do. It looks like I now have at Ryan Hygic 8398. So there's all my videos. I don't want to go off tangent, but y'all might find this one kind of cool. I actually did this.
Save $60 over your.
I actually did this commercial. A buddy of mine has a graphics company, and I actually had this commercial done. I thought it was kind of cool just to grab attention. I won't show you all of it.
My name's Ryan Hyde, and I've been in the real estate business for almost 20 years. That's right, 20 years, guys. I know all the details about this business, just like I know all the details about the homes I sell, like this one here.
One of my favorite scenes is probably
Nice
this one.
backyard too.
And I'll stop it after this.
Be with you in just a minute.
It's not done yet. And then I go to I really was in the pool, by the way, with my suit. So I think you just have to be innovative and different and just try to be thinking of ways. Look, guys, I mean, I only have like 1,000 views total, and even on my Facebook. But what I'm trying to do is the clients that I have sold houses to before, I want them to not forget about me, because people have short memories, right? So maybe in 2 years, they're like, oh, the guy that jumped into the pool, let me call him. Because let's face it, there's a lot of realtors out there. You kind of want to try to stand in their minds. Another thing I do, a trick, is I send out calendar magnets, but they're magnets, because like business cards, you're going to throw away. Let's face it, we all throw those away. But I'm hoping that they slap that magnet on the refrigerator. So anyway, let me get back to the point. I go on too many tangents. So we want to go, we want to follow our checklist, buyer's representation agreement. Of course, you always want that signed up front before you even put them in your car, or they follow you to go look at houses. General information notice to sellers and buyers. That's just I always have my clients. So typically I'll have the information about broker services and the buyer's rep signed before I show them houses. Okay, that's just up front. Now, once I know that they're ready to sign on the dotted line, then I'll get them to go ahead and sign these. Okay. And here's why, guys, because I don't need all of this signed before I sign a contract with the new home, but I need it signed to finish my file off. Okay. So if I already have these two signed up front, now all I got to do is worry about these 4. When do I have those 4 signed? I'll tell you. So let's say they're negotiating on this particular house is a David Weekley. I have it under contract right now. I'll tell you exactly what I did. I showed them lots of houses, 6 months worth of showing them houses. I had the information about broker services and the buyer's rep signed, because I don't want them to not continue to use me after 6 months of work. If I want them to find one eventually, and I don't really care. I always tell my clients, I don't care how long it takes you to find a house, 6 months, a year. As long as you use me, I'm a happy camper. Because at the end of the day, I'm going to get paid eventually. Okay. Now, this particular couple, we spent about 6 months looking for houses. We finally landed in David Weekley, Cane Island. And now the builder typed up this contract, but I was there. I was there every step of the way. I go with them to all the showings, because I don't want them to go into a new build home and then all of a sudden they get amnesia and forget that I'm their agent, and then they sign the contract with the builder and I'm not on it. That is the worst thing that could happen. So I tell my clients, you want to go look at new homes? Call me. I will go with you. I emphasize that almost till I'm red in the face. And sure enough, we went in a couple of times. And I think the 3rd trip to this builder, we finally started negotiating, and I helped them negotiate the contract. We won't get into that too much right now, because that's not what this class is on. But I negotiated the contract price. I negotiated them to the David Weekley to pay their some of their closing costs. Who pays for title policy? Negotiated that, and then the builder typed it all up, and I reviewed it first before the client signed it. And I always tell my clients, hey, before you, if they send you something electronically, let me review it first before you sign it. I'm doing two things. First, I'm making sure that I'm on the contract, okay, and what my commission is. And in this particular case, I'm getting 3%. And then secondly, I'm reviewing the contract because that's part of your job. You're not an attorney, but you do review the contract and make sure the price is what we agreed upon and that they're paying the closing costs that they said they would, and yada, yada, yada. And Ryan, this is a lot of words. Yeah, I know. I literally sit there and read the whole contract because I don't know these very well because they're not Trek forms. So I read it. But I'm also getting 3%. So do the math. It's not, it's, yeah, you're reading it like a book and that's a lot of work, but I'm also getting paid a lot of money. So anyway, and now I've got the figures that I need to go off of to do my commission disbursement, right? But be careful. Sometimes the commission disbursement, they pay you. You need to ask the built sales counselor. Sometimes they'll pay you based on the base amount, not base plus the options. Usually they'll pay you based on the base price of the house, not including the options, because they want to get away with it as little as possible, obviously. So it just depends on, usually the commission part of the contract, it says real estate commission. Upon closing and funding, seller will pay a commission to Ryan Hygic of Texas United Realty. And then it says in a separate agreement, and I don't have that agreement pulled up, but that agreement says 3% based on the base contract price. In this particular case, there was like 80,000 in options. So I'm not getting paid on those $80,000 in options, unfortunately, but it is what it is. Sometimes you do, sometimes you don't. And then sometimes the builder will have a bonus in there called a BTSA. That's always nice. It basically is like your commission plus a bonus. Okay, so then once I have this, so it takes about a week once your buyer signs it for the David Weekley division to sign it. And while that's happening, I usually go home right after the buyer signed the contract, and I ask the sales counselor for a hard copy of the contract or an email version. I save it to my file. It's not executed yet because the builder hasn't signed it yet, right? All parties have to sign before it's executed, right? But what I do is I go ahead and save it because I need to know the figures. And then I fill out my DA request, and then I go through my checklist and I make sure that I use DocuSign. I just like DocuSign. It's like $15 a month and it's very user friendly. That's just me. I upload all these into DocuSign. All my mentees usually use Dotloop, and I go ahead and have the client sign these forms because they've already signed these two. Okay. If they haven't signed the buyer's rep yet, you should have already had that signed. You definitely should have had the IABS already signed. But if not, go ahead and include that and go ahead and send it to them to sign. These are just information about flood hazard. Well, Ryan, it's not in the floodplain. Why should I have them sign this? It's not if it's in a floodplain. It's just information about how to go and look up floodplain information and what they should do, and that they should have flood insurance. It's just covering our backsides, guys. Information about property insurance. It just explains to them about homeowners insurance, and it's a good form for them to sign to say that you went over that with them. You can go over it with them. Sometimes I bring these forms and to our builder meetings, and I go over it with them while we're looking at houses or after we sit down with the builder. And then bottom line is I go home and I have them sign all this. So now I filled out my DA request. I already had my information about brokerage services and my buyer's rep sign. Now they e-sign these three. They're just information forms. They're not hard to fill out. Like your client's name is already all it's asking for. Maybe the property address, but again, you get it off the contract. That's not it. That's tax records. But anyway, the contract was pulled up. You get the address off the contract. And then remember the purchase agreement, that's the builder's contract. So you should already have that because you asked and then what I do is I email the builder and I say, look, sorry to bother you. Nice to meet you the other day. Do you think I could have a copy of the signed, executed contract once the David Weekley signs it? And they always say yes, of course, because you're their agent. And then after closing, you want to make sure you get your buyer's walkthrough form signed. You always need that. I usually have them sign it in person at the house when I actually do the final walkthrough. I just did a walkthrough with my clients today. It's the second to last one. We're closing on another new home, knock on wood, next week. In where is it? In Tomball. And I just got back a couple hours ago from that. And the final walkthrough is the 15th, and then we're closing on the 16th. So I'll go to that walkthrough today. I didn't do much. I mean, we had the inspection done. I was there for the inspection. And so therefore I knew what items that were key points for the builder to fix. And I was kind of there making sure that he fixed them. And then they did the walkthrough. We blue taped a couple things for the builder to fix. And I shook their hand and said, see y'all next week. It's not hard, but it's also, I'm ensuring that, hey, I'm going to make sure this baby goes to closing, right? Okay, so I always have the buyer walkthrough form signed, usually in person. If not, if I forget it, I'll usually go home and immediately send it to them via DocuSign or e-sign. But that needs to get done, signed this day they do their final walkthrough. So this was their pre-final walkthrough. On the 15th, they'll do their final walkthrough, and I'll bring this form. Even though it's a brand new home, you still need to get this form signed, and they still need to do a final walkthrough. Usually it's with the builder, but again, I always go to that. Just remember, I think on this Tomball house, it's $360,000 house. So do the math, 3% of that. And I think it's taken a year for this house to get built. I think this is probably the 13th trip I've made out there, but one trip a month to get paid, 300,000 times 3%, $9,000, $10,000. I mean, that's not terrible. Okay, and then this CD, or formerly called HUD-1, I call it a CD. Back in my day, we only called it a HUD. That you get from the title company at closing. Or sometimes they'll wait and send it to you with your check, and they'll mail it. I usually have them mail the check to my address. I don't like wires. I'm old school maybe. And then if not, if they still don't send it, I'll just email the title lady, the contact you have for the title company, and ask her for it. That has to be put into your file. Again, this is after closing. And then any documents that your clients sign should be in the file. So if there's an addendum that the builder did, maybe they amended the price or something like that, then that needs to be in the file too. So when to try to keep this kind of short, why don't we open it up to what situations you can unmute yourself? Maybe let's see if I can. More. I'm gonna ask all of y'all to unmute. What questions do y'all have for me regarding anything? I've done it all. I do commercial. I do new homes, resale homes. There hasn't been anything I probably haven't done. Maybe there is, but I can't think of anything. What do we got?
Ryan, when I sold a new home that closed in June, I was advised to do the final walkthrough the morning of before closing, in case something happened, like an appliance was stolen or house burnt down or broken into. What do you say about that?
I love your question and your point. On resales, I always do the walkthrough on the day of. The new home, sometimes the builders, this particular case, he scheduled it to be done the day before the closing. Amy, our office manager, she pretty much requires the walkthroughs to be done the day of. So in that case, this case, what I'll do is I'll do the walkthrough with the builder the day before, because that's what's on his schedule. And then I'll probably ask him if he can open it, or the new home sales counselor lady can open it up for us that morning before we go to the closing, and just do one with me and the buyer and without the builder, because the builder is probably going to be busy that day. So good point. Very good point. And I agree with you.
Okay, thank you.
Ryan, I have a non-new home build question, actually two.
Anything.
One is, what's the rest of your cell phone number? 281-541?
Love that question too. If y'all have a pen, write it down. 281-541-2417.
2417. Okay, and the second question is, would you happen to know a lender, a commercial lender who lends on churches? church?
Churches. I do know a commercial lender. Text me and I'll send you his information.
Okay, very good. Thank you.
Go ahead, sir. I saw you yesterday, didn't I? At the Christmas party? I saw some of y'all at the Christmas party yesterday. But what did you have for me, sir?
Ryan Kasim is here. Got a quick question for you.
Yes, sir.
Number one, I really appreciate your time. A lot of good information, and looking forward to learn from all that. The question to you, back to the gentleman who was sitting on the builder's chair in his office and make it like an office for him. Question to you, is that ethical? Is that something a real estate agent can do? Just sit it there and wait for clients to come in? Or what's your thoughts on that one? I know that you were upset about that.
I wasn't really upset. I was more confused. Like, wait a minute, who are you? Because it was like kind of took me off guard. I don't think it's unethical. He disclosed that he was a real estate agent. And when I was discussing, well, of course, I didn't want my clients talking to him because he's not there. I'm their realtor, not him. But he was very nice and he wasn't trying to approach my clients. Once he saw that they were with me, he did not try to talk to my clients. I thought it was pretty genius of the guy, to be honest. It seemed like he loafed around enough. I think he lived in the neighborhood. It seemed like they called themselves Mike and Mike. I think it was a way of kind of sticking. Again, you want things to resonate in people's minds. I can't remember my dentist's name, but if he had a cool name like Eminem, I might remember it, right? So there was two guys and they were both by chance named Mike, and they called themselves Mike and Mike. And what they did was, I actually did get kind of upset because my client was like, hey, we were looking on Facebook and we saw that comment Mike and Mike made on our, one of the threads. It was like, hey, tell them Mike and Mike sent you and you get a good deal on this home. And I said, wait a minute, guys, what they're trying to do is they're trying to get the people, in this particular chance, it was my clients, to go in and say, hey, we want a good deal. We heard Mike and Mike told us to come in here. And that would spawn the new home sales counselor to write down Mike and Mike as their realtor. They're pretty clever. It got me kind of like, no, you don't want to say that. And so I had to explain to them, and it was kind of an awkward conversation. I basically said, look, they're just realtors. They're not trying to, they can't really get you any better deal than I can. They're just trying to get their name written down on the contract so they can get the 3%. And I usually I'm just upfront with my clients. Like, look, I'm getting paid 3% and I want to be written down on the contract. It's not coming out of your pocket. The builder's paying me. Usually the most upfront is the best policy. You start him hauling about your commission and they just think you're being shady is what it boils down to. Maybe y'all have different opinions than I do, but the guy was allowed to be there. The new home sales counselor allowed him to be there, and he was representing himself as a RE/MAX agent. I can't see that he was doing anything unethical. And if they didn't have a realtor and the sales counselor was busy, he was hopping in and helping. Now, of course, he's taking that chance that these clients are going to say, no, we don't want a realtor. And then he's basically wasting his time. But I mean, come on. If he sits there all day and gets all weekend and gets one deal, these were $500,000 houses. Times that by 3%, I mean, and people were coming in. I watched him helping people. I don't know what came of it. I was too busy. We got in my Tahoe and I started showing them houses that were in the neighborhood. Usually what I'll do when I go to a brand new home community, I know we're going to be looking at inventory homes. Even if they want to build, they at least want to see what the homes look like. So I'll make sure my Tahoe is prettied up and cleaned up. And usually the sales counselor will get in their car and I'll just ask them, hey, hop in my Tahoe and we'll follow him. And then we go to all the new homes and look. And then I always, guys, remember this. I always grab that registration card when I walk in. I know it's like the sales count, the guys talking, everybody, it's kind of chaotic, but I found a way to kind of get 3 minutes and just grab the registration card. It's usually on the counter and I'll write my client's name and minimum, usually my client's name, email address, and my information. That registers you with the client if there's ever a dispute. And then, as silly as this sounds, guys, I get out my cell phone and I just take a picture of it real quick. I just go click, snap. It just kind of, without asking them for a copy of it and they're busy, it's just easier to make sure I've double covered myself that I was here and they're my clients and I registered them. It sounds cheesy, guys, but I got to I mean, guys, I've been doing this so long, I've gotten screwed over. Maybe I shouldn't use that word. I've gotten messed over a couple of times where the builder was like, no, they came in. I didn't know. I didn't see you here. And it's like, no, man, I was there, and they have so many clients that come in. I'd rather have triple check proof that I registered those clients and I was there than not and end up not getting paid at the closing. So that's why I kind of start preaching about make sure you're in the contract, make sure, because you will be in there. It will have the real estate company, your name, and then a commission amount that they're going to agree to pay you, either in the contract or the addendum to the contract. So just make sure.
Ryan,
Go
can
ahead.
I ask you please to pull up that page 2? I want to get a screenshot of that one as well.